Today I'm going to show you how MSPs can easily define workflows within Uniportal. This will be your way of teaching the AI assistant how to handle different types of tickets. We're going to look at an example ticket. In this case, it will be new user onboarding, and then we will see how the AI assistant handles it. I have already provided this assistant with instructions. So we're going to just watch how it resolves the ticket. We will be reviewing and approving its actions. And then at the end, I'll show you how exactly you provide those instructions to the assistant so it can solve those tickets on an ongoing basis. Now let's have a look. In here, I'm logged into Halo PSA. Uniportal also works with ConnectWise and Autotask in a similar manner. And what I have here is a ticket for new user onboarding. Usually someone from HR team will submit a form with all the details of the user that creates the ticket. And now someone from the help desk team will need to provision the account for the user with all the details mentioned here. So if we quickly review the ticket, here we have the details of the user. We need to use these to create their Entra ID account. We also have the details of their manager. We also have the license that needs to be assigned, also their office location, phone number, and then we also have all the groups they need to be member of. Along with that, we have some distribution list and also a shared mailbox that we need to provide them access with. Also, I want to, at the end of it, user created within the PSA. So I can also skip that step and not have to do that manually. So now I'm going to open the custom tab. That's how the Uniportal Assistant works. And you'll notice the moment I open the tab, the assistant starts working. You don't need to provide it any context. It gets all the context through the integration. And then from here, it's going to analyze the ticket, follow my instructions, and do all the tasks I've asked it to do one by one. So it goes through pretty fast, but I'll walk you through what's happening here. So it first analyzed the ticket, it got all the context, then it looked at the workflow I've provided it, all the steps that it needs to take, and then it starts with the first step. The first step is to first check if there is an existing account with the username, because in that case, there will be conflict and it will have to either ask technician for input or skip that step. So here it's using the tool to go find the user if one exists already. In this case, it didn't find anything. And from there on, it goes ahead and starts to create an account. Now, if I expand this, you'll see that it captured all the details from the ticket. This is something you'll have to do manually, get the details from the ticket, fill those details in Entra ID form, and that could easily take a few minutes. And within Uniportal, that's done within seconds. So a new user was provisioned. We got the temporary credentials into a URL that we can share with them. We're going to remember that for later. And then the next step in the workflow is to assign the manager. So it again finds that information from the ticket. We just gave it a name. And then it searched for that user and then found their ID to assign the manager. Now it's asking for my approval again, and I'm going to approve that. So what you'll see here is you still have all the control. You're mainly using AI to do things faster and not have to manually put in the information, navigate the pages, but you're in control of approving all these actions. So once the manager was assigned, it goes to the next step, which is to assign a license. So the first thing it's doing is it's checking available licenses within that company, and it found that it does have a business premium license available. And now it's asking for my approval to assign that. I'm going to approve that too. And then from here on, it's again done within seconds. And you move on to the next step, which is now add the user to different groups. So it, in parallel, did search for all the groups that are mentioned in the ticket. It found all the groups, so it's presenting. And now it's asking for approval to add the groups one by one. So I'm going to review that And I'm going to approve all 6 groups here. And again, within seconds, you will have the user added to all the groups. And then it moves on to the next step, which is to grant delegated permissions to a shared mailbox. So here it's trying to grant full access to a shared mailbox. It searched for the mailbox, found it. And now from here, I can review and approve this action as well. And again, we're doing things within seconds. It's usually whole process could take 30 to 40 minutes. So it finished assigning the shared mailbox, and now the next step in my workflow was to draft a welcome email. And that's exactly the template I wanted. And it put in all the details, the new username, the credentials, any instructions I want to give any details about Helpdesk, I can add them all. And then from here, with one click, I can send it over. And next, the final step is to create the user in PSA as well. So it's again going to take all the information and create the user within PSA. It failed. Seems like it needs site ID to create a user, and it doesn't have that. I think I know the site ID. Now, this is something you can also add in the workflow if it's a specific site ID you always use. Or you can also interact with the assistant, and it'll always ask you if it's in doubt or if any information is missing. So from here, it's going to try creating the user again. Now, this is not RPA that it'll break. Smart workflow. It's going to adapt. It's going to ask you for input. And once you approve or provide that information, it's going to try that action again. So it was able to successfully create the user. And then finally, what I have in my workflow is to document all the actions taken and then close the ticket. So I'm going to approve that. And then it's going to document everything on the ticket and it's going to close the ticket. Yeah, so with that, our onboarding is complete. It took maybe under 2 minutes. Mostly the time is spent reviewing and approving things. So let's have a look at the new user that's provisioned. So I'm going to go to Entra ID, and here I'm going to search, and actually I get Holly account created here. So this was the user we were onboarding. If I look at their details, you will notice all the details from the ticket. The AI assistant took those details and used all those details to provision this user. It also assigned the manager. And then if I look at groups, all 6 groups were assigned to the user. These are all exactly as they were specified in the ticket. And then for license, it also assigned the business premium license we wanted it to assign. And if I go to Exchange Portal, I could also show you the shared mailbox, the suppliers where we wanted to give delegated permissions to this user. So you'll see Holly now has full access to this mailbox. So, and then one last step, if I go to PSA, I'm going to go into customer users, and then you'll notice the account was also created within the PSA under the same customer name. So yeah, that's how the AI assistant can solve these tickets with guidance. Now let's look at how I provided the instructions for the assistant to be able to do all these. Now, if I go to dashboard, what we have is skills. Skills is your way of teaching the AI assistant how to tackle different tasks. I have a few skills created here, and one of the skill here is to onboard a new user. Now, if I open that, you'll notice it's all in plain English. So you don't need to write any code or create fancy workflows. All you need to do is give it detailed instructions in English on what you want it to do and in what order. So in here, I have given a name and then I gave it a description. This is what the assistant uses the context to see if the skill is relevant. Some trigger phrases. So I wanted to refer this skill whenever I mention these or ticket mention any of these. So you don't need to invoke a skill. The assistant will automatically invoke based on the context of the request. And then below that, I have a list of things I wanted to do in this case. So I wanted to ensure it has all the information before it starts creating an account. If any of this information is missing, it's going to ask the technician for input. In our case, most of these details were available in the ticket, so it just verified that and moved on to the next step. The next step here is to search if there is a user already with that username. So it did that. And then it moved to the next step of creating the user with all the details. And then from there on, it searched for all available licenses and assigned the license that was requested. Now, the things you see in blue here are tools. So it's good to refer them within the skill. But even if you skip them and just mention in plain English, the assistant will be able to get everything done. So from there onward, my next step is to add groups and then assign mailbox and then draft a welcome email with the temporary credentials. And then from there on, first see if the user exists within PSA. If not, then create the user. And then from there on, my next step was to add ticket notes and then finally to close the ticket. So if you don't want it to add note or close the ticket, you can just delete this and the assistant will stop there. And then below that, I provided it an email template. So the welcome email I want to share, I want to follow a specific format. So I provided that. And again, the assistant was smart enough to understand where to fill in all the details and then give me this welcome email to send. So that's how you build skills and that's how you teach your AI assistant. Very similar to how you write SOPs to teach your technicians how to do things. In the same way, you write skills to teach your AI assistant. Let me know what you think and visit our website for more details. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.